Welcome back. We're staying on the turf, but switching gears now to NSIC football. Our live game tomorrow features Northern State at 9th-ranked University of Sioux Falls. David Brown will be on the call for that game, but right now he's here to give us a quick preview of what to expect. So Dave, we'll start with the road team from Northern State. Last week they topped Wayne State in Aberdeen 23-16. They scored a touchdown in the final 30 seconds for the win. What's the mindset of the Wolves heading into this weekend?
They're very confident, Kelly, but on the other hand, they also feel like they could do a lot more. Jake Como, Brandon Valley native, made his first start at quarterback for Northern State, just a sophomore, had a mediocre game by his standards. 20 of 33, 179 yards, a touchdown, and an interception as well. But at the end, he drove his team on the game-winning drive, got them a little bit of a confidence boost. Tied 16-16, had a 31-yard run on that drive, completed a 4th and 7 for 20 yards to keep the drive going, then Shaka Kelly scored the game-winning touchdown with under 20 seconds to go. Now, coaches will tell you a win's a win, whether it's by 1 point or by 50 points, but Coach Tom Dosh even told me this week that particular way they won, getting that game-winning drive for a quarterback having his very first start, that does something a little bit different for your team. So this is a confident Northern State team, but they're not taking that win for granted either.
Well, you talk about a momentous win, but on the other side, Sioux Falls had their huge road win at Minnesota Duluth, 26-7, the first time UMD had lost at home in 4 years. So how are the Cougars feeling with that kind of momentum heading into this week?
Similar to Northern State, they're obviously very happy with the win. They enjoyed it on the 7.5-hour bus ride back from Duluth, but as we all know, it's a week-to-week league, so as soon as they got off the bus, they started thinking about the following week. And so the thoughts have transferred to Northern State. The defense, however, was just phenomenal. We know that Minnesota Duluth can score, and we knew that Sioux Falls has a good defense. But again, take a look at MSU Moorhead. They hold Augie to 7 points week 1, and then on Thursday night they gave up 51 to Southwest Minnesota State. So the Cougars are going to try and match their defensive output. I talked with Dennis Gardeck earlier this week. NSIC Defensive Player of the Week, had 5 sacks against UMD. I asked him if he's going to get 5 sacks again. And like a good person with his media training, he said he's going to try, but he definitely won't guarantee another 5 sacks.
All right, great answer. But so with both teams heading into this game at 1-0, they're perfect on the season. There's going to be a lot of keys to the game, but what will be the one major key? The
one major key is going to be Max Mickey, the Sioux Falls running back. He's the NSIC's leading returning rusher, had 114 yards last week against UMD, but he did it on 37 carries, a little more than 3 yards an attempt. Granted, the defense was playing well, but the Cougars just wanted to maintain a clock advantage, so they weren't going to try anything too crazy offensively. But with a new quarterback for USF and Ian Feber, Mickey's going to be key for the Cougars to establish the kind of game they want to play. And for Northern State, it's going to be about stopping Max Mickey. They were 3rd in the league last season in rush defense. So if Northern State can limit the big plays from Max Mickey, that will be advantage Wolves. So it's going to be that Northern State defense trying to stop the NSIC's leading rusher.
Well, we're definitely looking forward to that game. But looking at the NSIC in total this weekend, kind of give us an overview of the weekend action.
Well, there were 2 games that I'm keeping an eye on. And the first one I mentioned earlier this week, Augustana at Minot State. Augie trying to come off or bounce back from that loss to MSU Moorhead. That offense has to get going, only 7 points against the Dragons. They're going to have to do something against Minot State. And then, of course, Mike Aldrich, the head coach of the Beavers, former coach of the Vikings, wants nothing more than to get a win against his old squad. So that'll be something interesting to watch, as neither team wants to go to 0-2. And then the other game I'm looking forward to is Winona State at St. Cloud State. Both teams with kind of surprise wins week 1. Winona State had the best defense in the conference last season, but I don't think anyone expected them to limit the top offense last season, Bemidji State, to just 20 points. So the Warriors are riding high. And then for St. Cloud State, they hold SMSU to 0 points in the second half last week, only 26 allowed. And of course, SMSU got 51 this week on Thursday against MSU Moorhead. So can St. Cloud State keep up its methodical offense, try and keep the Winona State defense on the field and maybe limit their possessions? So St. Cloud State, Winona State, and Augustana, Minot State, and of course Northern State USF. Those are the 3 games that I'm really looking forward to this weekend. And of course, we got Northern USF on Saturday.
All right, well, David, let's go back to yesterday. You were up in Moorhead for that game, and it was a high-scoring affair, but SMSU's offense was impressive. I mean, what did you take from that game?
What I took from that game is that it was just an aberration that SMSU didn't score any points in the second half against St. Cloud State last week. I mean, the fact that they didn't get any points in the second half was because they were only on the field for 3 plays in the third quarter against St. Cloud State. Obviously, a lot more proficient and more prolific on Thursday. You see the touchdown there. That was within the first 2.5 minutes of the ball game. It was a shootout basically from start to finish, and the difference being MSU Moorhead having 6 turnovers. J.D. Jackson handshit 4 interceptions for Southwest Minnesota State, guarding Damon Gibson, who is arguably the NSIC's top wide receiver. And Nate Hewitt saying, hey, if all the pub for Damon Gibson, look at what I can do. Stretches for the touchdown there. And then this is a SportsCenter top 10 type play we got coming up here. Check out this one-handed grab. I mean, look at that. That's unbelievable. Nate Hewitt, senior wide receiver. As Jody Norstead pointed out yesterday, he's from his hometown of Dawson, Minnesota. So props to Jody and props to Nate Hewitt. But MSU Moorhead, they tried to establish a bit of a ground game, but this was the key. End of the first half, trying to run out the clock. Austin Stone fumbles. Hunter Cookman takes it back to the 1-yard line with 6 seconds left. Mustangs have a decision to make whether or not to go for a touchdown or a field goal. They go and get the touchdown to increase their lead to 20 at halftime. MSU Moorhead tried to keep up in the second half. They had good stretches of offense, good stretches of defense, but none of them sort of combined together. They were on different wavelengths in terms of which one was good and which one wasn't. And then J.D. Jackson handshake. 4 interceptions, easily going to be the defensive player of the week unless something miraculous happens in the games on Saturday. But overall, I think the MSU Moorhead fans are probably a little bit disappointed, but I don't think the 51 points given up shows how bad the MSU Moorhead defense is, but I also don't think the 7 they gave up to Augustana shows how good they are. The truth lies somewhere in the middle for them.
All right, well, great insight, David. When we come back, we have a preview of what to expect on Varsity Sports Live tonight. That'll be Jason Andera and I hosting. That's when we come back.